And just let us know when we're going to begin recording.
We're ready to go right now.
Chairman Alvarez, we are ready to begin when you are.
Okay, let's get started. So we will begin the meeting of the Engineering and Operations Committee and a special meeting of the Board of Directors. And first item up is a call to order. So Mr. General Manager, would you like to see if we're all here?
Will do, Chairman Alvarez. Director Williams.
Here.
Chairman Alvarez.
Here.
Alternate Director Houston.
Here.
Director Gray.
Here.
And Director Deere. And Director Deere did notify us that he would not be able to join us today.
Okay, so we have a quorum. Next item up is public comment. Any?
Chairman Alvarez, we have not received any requests for public comment today.
Okay. How about presentation?
We have no presentations.
And then action calendar.
We have no action items.
The next item is the information calendar, and we have 3 items. First item is a project update for the Juanita Melinda McDonald Carson Regional Water Recycling Plant Phase 2 expansion project. So with that, if you take over, Mr. General Manager.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Alvarez. As you mentioned, the item 6A is related to our Juanita Melinda McDonald Carson Regional Water Recycling Plant and our expansion project. And for this presentation today, we do have Kevin Cullen, our Engineer 3, here to present on this item.
Thank you, EJ. I'll share my screen. Everyone see that all right?
Yes.
Alrighty. Thanks, EJ. Good afternoon, members of the committee and board. As mentioned, I'll be providing a project update on our Juanita Melinda McDonald Carson Regional Water Recycling Plant Phase 2 expansion project. Before I jump into the project update, high-level overview of the plant. It is located in the city of Carson at 21029 South Wilmington Avenue. It is fed by a 42-inch pipeline from the Edward C. Little Water Recycling Facility in El Segundo, and its influent water, source water, is our disinfected tertiary water, commonly called Title 22. The original Phase 1 construction of the plant in 1999 consisted of 2 treatment trains, the first being a low-pressure boiler feed water at approximately 5.18 million gallons per day of microfiltration, followed by reverse osmosis, and a second treatment train of nitrified water quality for cooling tower applications at about 0.9 million gallons per day using biological aerated filtration.
Kevin, before you leave that slide, maybe you can go over, you mentioned the 42-inch pipeline, and talk a little bit about that. Is that kind of a backbone to the overall system?
Correct. It is a backbone. It helps feed most of the recycled water customers and satellite facilities south of Edward C. Little. It consists of 3 sections. We divide it into the north, south, and middle segments. And yeah, it certainly is the backbone.
Thank you.
No problem. As mentioned, out of the Carson plant, we're producing 2 types of water, 2 of the 5 that West Basin produce, the first being the cooling tower water, and the second being a low-pressure boiler feed water. The main driver of the Phase 2 expansion project was the replacement of the existing microfiltration system. The existing microfiltration system has been in operation since the original construction, and since then has had some diminished capacity. It had an original capacity of about 5.18 MGD as mentioned, and today we're seeing about 3 to 3.5 MGD out of it. So with the new project, we're looking at installing a new custom engineered microfiltration system. We stand to increase total production capacity by about 1.88 MGD. And by doing so, we'll restore and improve upon the original design capacity of the plant while operating under an N+1 operations mode. And what this means is that we'll basically have a redundant rack of microfiltration modules. So we'll be able to meet capacity and some while having an offline rack of microfiltration units, whether that be need for maintenance purposes or cleaning or what have you. By increasing the capacity, it will also eliminate the need for the temporary portable ultrafiltration system, often referred to as the PUF system. The PUF was installed in 2016 and has helped make up some of that diminished capacity. We'll also be privy to some reduced downtime. Because the existing system is so old, it tends to have quite a bit amount of problems. So with a newer system, we'll have a much reduced downtime. One of the other main benefits of replacing the existing microfiltration system with a new custom engineered system are the materials of the membrane, new membranes. Since the late 90s, membrane technology has improved considerably. So with the new system, we'll be looking to switch membrane materials from polypropylene membranes to polyvinylidene fluoride, often called PVDF. And one of the biggest advantages of using PVDF is that it can be cleaned using sodium hypochlorite. Sodium hypochlorite isn't compatible with the existing membranes, the polypropylene membranes. So what the sodium hypochlorite will allow us to do is get better membrane recovery with some of our source water, the organics, and ammonia in our source water from Hyperion. It often leads to irreversible fouling in our membranes. So cleaning with sodium hypochlorite will allow us to get better long-term performance out of the membranes. Also, with a new custom engineered system, we'll be open to, it'll allow us to competitively bid future membrane replacements. As stated in the name, custom engineered microfiltration system. It can accommodate up to 6 different membranes. And what this will allow us to do is, as water quality changes or pricing in membranes changes, when the time comes to be replaced, we'll be able to fit the system with a different membrane if needed. Another advantage of the new system will be the open platform PLC. A lot of the existing systems that West Basin have are packaged systems from a single manufacturer. So a lot of the controls are proprietary in these packaged systems. With an open platform PLC, we'll be able to customize backwash sequences, air scour sequences, and things of that nature for better performance. Now for the project update. On the right-hand side here, I have a quick time lapse that I'd like to show that'll highlight some of the progress at the custom engineered microfiltration area. We do have a camera on site. It provides site security and also records some of the construction progress throughout the whole duration. So this time lapse just focuses on the custom engineered area. There we go. So pretty neat. Here's where we stand today. And what you saw accomplished in that video was a considerable amount of over excavation, the installation of our 2 underground tanks, the CIP waste tank and the EQ tank, as well as the installation of a lot of underground conduit, process piping, and then on the left-hand side there you can see the pipe trench that'll sit underneath the microfiltration system. As far as schedule goes, the construction contract is 660 days from notice to proceed to final completion. To date, 239 days have elapsed, so about 36% of the schedule has been consumed. On the cost side, the construction base contract is $20.98 million. To date, the contractor has earned about $3.14 million, which is about 15%. So we do expect this to ramp up as the project costs usually follow somewhat of an S curve as construction progresses. On the documentation side, the contractor to date has submitted a total of 88 RFIs, and with the help of Suez, our design engineer Hazen and Sawyer, and our construction management team Boutier, we've processed 77 to date. And as far as submittals goes, 172 to date total, and 158 have been processed. The Phase 2 project is one of 6 West Basin projects that are under the project labor agreement that West Basin holds with the Los Angeles and Orange County Building and Construction Trades Councils and the signatory craft councils and unions. So the PLA categorizes craft workers into 3 categories. Tier 1 being local residents. These are residents that live within U.S. zip codes and in the West Basin service area. Tier 2, West Basin, or excuse me, those zip codes that fall within LA County. And then third, at-risk workers. An at-risk worker is defined as a worker who meets 2 of the following criteria there, being homeless, custodial single parent, those receiving public assistance, those having a criminal justice record, those that are unemployed, or those that have a gross household income below 15% of the median income level. For the goals that are outlined within the PLA, West Basin, we're striving to provide 30% of the total work hours from Tier 1, so West Basin service area residents. We're also striving to provide 5% of the total labor hours from at-risk workers and 16.67% of the man hours on the project coming from apprentices. So to date, here's how the work hours have shaped up.
Kevin?
Yep.
Kevin, if you wouldn't mind pausing for just 1 second. We do have a question from Director Williams.
A question concerning the PLA and this concerning the types of jobs that are being that are available. So this is not any old kind of construction job. So what jobs are available for these folks, and then the at-risk people? What kind of jobs are they going to be doing? And of course, the apprenticeship jobs. I would assume that they cover the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a great question, Director Alvarez. Any of the workers could fall under any of the craft councils or the trade unions. Those are that being laborers, operators, carpenters, electricians. So any of the 3 categories there could fall under any of the trades.
So who checks?
We actually have a labor compliance consultant who helps track all the hours for us and make sure all the paperwork's in order, and that is the Solis group.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Kevin, if I could follow up on that, maybe you can you're not going to have this information right now, but maybe you can get back to us and say, like, of the Tier 1 group, 20% of that is laborers, 10% of that is pipe fitters,
Yeah.
30% of that is electricians. I think that's what we're looking for, is what kind of trades are within each one of those. And is at risk primarily laborers, or are there outside of laborers more trained, certified types of trades that are being met by at-risk individuals?
Certainly, yeah. I can definitely get back to you on the first part of the question there. For the at-risk, I do know, there's about, I'd say from any given time right now, there's about 15 to 20 workers on site. And I can say for certain that the at-risk worker is a laborer. We have 1 at-risk worker right now.
Okay, if you just follow up and bring that to us at some future date, and just, talk to your labor compliance or whoever's on site, and they'll probably be able to get that information for us. Thank you.
No problem. So to date, you can see how the kind of the hours have shooken out on the right-hand side. To date, 19% of the labor hours on the project are being provided from residents in the West Basin service area, 66% from LA County, and 15% outside of LA County. So one of the challenges we do have with the PLA is that oftentimes the contractor will request from the councils, the trade councils, workers from the West Basin service area. They do that via a craft request form. Not all times the union halls are able to provide workers out of the West Basin service area. So in this case, the contractor is doing their due diligence, and they have an approved local percentage at 35.1%. At risk is at 4.0% right now. Actually, since this presentation was published, we are trending upward. It's about 4.4%. And we're looking to see that continue to rise. And then we're doing an excellent job as far as apprentices goes. 23.4% of the work hours on the project are being provided by apprentices. So we will continue to track these. And I can report that about 17% of the Tier 1 hours are coming out of Division 1 currently. Now for some construction progress photos. The first photo we have here, a lot of the progress to date has been with yard piping, the installation of a new potable water backup system for the 3 on-site tanks. So here you see an installation of our new 20-inch HDPE W1 pipeline. This is a 100-foot section of pipe that's being installed by the contractor. And you can also see there that the pipe is sleeved in a blue sleeve per LA County Department of Public Health regulations. Next picture here is some formwork being installed for the pipe trench at the CEMF area. And then next up we have here is the installation of some underslab electrical work, conduit at our automatic transfer switch and generator area. We have a very small on-site generator that's going to be providing backup to some of the product water pumps for Marathon Refinery. And finally here we have a picture of 2 pressure control valves that sit on the microfiltration feed piping. Since we've issued a notice to proceed to the contractor, these valves have given us quite some trouble. You can see on the bottom of there that we have multiple plates welded over the bottom. They've began to leak pretty severely, so we will be looking to replace these using some of the previously approved board contingency funding. And they do fall above the $35,000 threshold, so we'll be looking to do that via change order. Looking forward, some of the upcoming construction activities, we're going to continue with the yard piping. We're going to move out of the site and move on to Dominguez Street. The W1 pipeline, it comes from our portable water area, which is in the northeast corner there. So the next couple weeks, the contractor is going to be installing the pipeline on Dominguez Street, which is a private access road that is going to be used by the district and Shell. It is owned by Shell. So we've developed a good working relationship with them, and that work's going to take place over the next couple weeks. We'll also continue with progress at the CEMF area with underslab electrical and process piping installation. We'll also continue with the construction of the new chemical storage area. We're currently relocating a chemical dosing system to make room for the new chemical storage area to be constructed. And then we'll also continue with the conduit and duct banks at our generator area. And with that concludes my project update, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I think I mentioned this before, that the first 6 years of my career, I was a draftsman. So if you look at this site map here, you can't read it. I mean, it looks like it's very well detailed, got a lot of good information there. But when you get my age, it's difficult to read stuff like this. So if you have to put fewer items on the map, it's fine. But what's on the map should be readable at a glance, okay? So I would appreciate it if you would give it some time when you're developing these, because these are great maps, and I know you have these AutoCAD systems that can do just about anything. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Director Williams, if you'd like, we can actually get you an individual copy of these drawings. So if you'd like that, we can get that to you. I apologize for it being small in the presentation, but we can get you an actual copy if you'd like.
Well, that's fine, but when you put them inside of the presentation, they should be able to read it. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Thank you. Good work, nevertheless.
Okay, any other directors have any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. I have a question, and maybe this would come up in a future presentation. The existing microfiltration system, that is going to be left and abandoned on site, or will be removed and just a slab left there?
Currently, the contractor has scope to decommission and remove the mechanical components of the existing system. So what will be left is the subgrade wet well and the above canopy.
Did you say the canopy will also be left?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. Thank you very much for your presentation. So moving on, the next item is,
Mr. Chair, really quick, Mr. Chair, before
go ahead.
Kevin jumps off, I just wanted to say thank you, by the way, for that update on the PLA agreements. And I echo my colleagues when you come back with a little more of the data. But that's really nice and thorough that you put that in here. So thank you very much.
Problem, Directors.
Okay, next item is a monthly operations update.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Alvarez. Item 6B, the monthly operations update. We do have 3 members of our staff here for this presentation. That includes Susanna Lee, our Senior Operations Engineer, Uzi Daniel, our Manager of Operations, and Frank Fuchs, our Operations Supervisor.
Thank you, EJ, and good afternoon, members of the board. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so if you will, please turn to page 16. You will find a copy of the ops memo, and then the presentation will actually begin on page 23, as Hazel already put it on. So during last week's board meeting, I mentioned that the challenging water quality continued throughout January and into the month of February. As the graph shows, if you look toward the right of the graph, you see that the influent turbidity continued to be elevated, and the average for the month of February was around 25 NTU. That's about double of our historical average of 13 NTU. So the salt loading into ECL remained to be high as well, and as well as the iron level. The TSS was as high as 105 parts per million on the last day of February. So the average TSS, total suspended solids, for the month of February was 44 parts per million. That is also more than double the amount of solids that we normally generate and normally have to process through our different processes. And this ultimately what it affects is that our ability to ramp up barrier production, which is remaining to be around between 2 to 3 MGD, until water quality will improve and be more stable, and as well as membranes to be installed, we won't have the capacity or the productions to ramp up. So with that, moving on to the next slide, we'll be going over some maintenance highlights. First, I want to just focus on the maintenance activities that are going on our solids facilities. As I alluded to earlier, last slide, that we've been forced to handle more than double the amount of solids from Hyperion, and hence the solids and dewatering facility, which has been overdue for rehab and replacement, has sustained some significant failures, directly or indirectly due to wear and tear from this past 8 months of processing high solids loading. So part of the issue, as you can see on the slide, is that the track and rail system that holds up the 140 plates gave way, kind of. Pins were broken, and we have broken carriages, and which led to the number of steel plates went off the guard. Ultimately, what it means is that, as you can see on the bottom of the slide, that the filter press has been offline since February 15th. Currently, we have only one dewatering press to process double the amount of solids that we've been handling, and more so than we have to modify our solids hauling management protocol. So the picture on the left, you can see there's a hoist system that maintenance staff use to lower the plates and take apart the whole system and just to get to the damaged parts. And the middle photo shows the maintenance staff taking apart the press, and the photo on the right shows that the plates are being lowered to the bottom of the dewatering facility. And you see the truck on the right-hand side. That is our modified solids operations protocol. At this point, we have Denali as providing an extra trailer, so then we can have the trailer processing the solids while the press, while other truck driver is coming back and forth. So ultimately, the effect is that we have to load solids longer, and therefore it could affect our Title 22 process if the trucks are not coming on time, and it has significant impact. Also, the reason why that is taking a long time for getting the parts for repair, remember these really age out system, the parts are being manufactured in Germany. Originally, the parts were scheduled to arrive this Friday. However, we were told that due to the war in Ukraine, the parts may be delayed depending on available flights out of that region. And also, right now, if the parts are on schedule or not on schedule, won't delay too much, we are estimating to have the press back online the last or third week of March. And it will take about 4 days to repair, and hopefully we'll get 2 presses back online, and we'll be able to ramp up barrier production as well, because if we do ramp up barrier, we will have more solids to process. With that, can we go to the next slide? There's a couple of other maintenance activity that went on. As part of our insurance requirement, there are a number of inspections that have to conduct every 2 to 3 years. On the photo on the left is one of the inspection trip that just took place a couple of weeks ago at Torrance, which required a 4-hour shutdown, and it was inspecting one of the pressure vessels. And the photo on the right is our maintenance staff testing and preparing for the SCE shutdown that took place just this week. And so they were just doing some check on our backup generator. Next slide, please. Okay, as we started to inform the board of upcoming solicitations, so there are 3 solicitations that will be coming out in the next 2 to 3 months. The first solicitation is our solids hauling contract. So we'll be talking about solids hauling, and it has become an issue with truck driver shortages and fuel prices increasing. So we are going out to hopefully get more competitions and see where we land with the solids hauling costs. And the second studies that will be going out for RFP is the electrical system study. Every 5 years we require to test our electrical system, make sure that it passed the arc flash requirement, and also we have consultants to go through all our electrical equipment, make sure that they are labeled correctly. So that is going out in April. And then last but not least, the on-call operation technical services will be going out for a new contract with hopefully different consultant. And so this contract really supports our operation department with any operational needs and studies. And also a large component of that study, that contract is to help support our membrane monitoring and optimization effort. So that RFP will also be going out in April. With that, I will turn it over to Uzi to discuss with compliance.
Susanna, I have a question or request. Since it looks like the solids hauling contract's going out to bid tomorrow, I would like to, and you might want to send it to all the board members, but I would like a copy of that RFP as well as the other two.
And I'm just going to add, and that's my fault. That's a typo. It's actually going out on the 15th, Director Alvarez. So there is still time. We will get that to you. We're finalizing the draft now, but it's going out next week, actually.
Thank you, Uzi.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Director Williams has a question.
Just could you remind me as to what you are doing when the backlog of hauling gets to the point where you can't stand it anymore?
Right now, we have, there are a couple of operational modifications we have to do. We are using vacuum trucks to haul off the 5% solids. So that is like still a lot of liquid, but at the gravity thickener sites. So that's one way to really, it's helping us, but it's not, it doesn't make a major dent. If and when the solids fill up to the point that we really can't handle anymore, then that means we'll either have to reduce production, recycle water production, or use potable water to supplement our production.
Well, I thought that you could have a request that your partner there at Hyperion could allow you to dispose of that excess there.
Yeah, we have been during the past 8 months hauling some of those semi-thickened sludge. So the sludge that come out from the pre-treatment and filter is about between 0.5 to 1.5%. And then by the time it gets to the dense bags and comes out of that to the gravity thickener, that is 5%. Well, after the gravity belt thickener, it will be about 5%. So so we are making some dent by vacuuming those type of solids. Just so you remember, aware that the dewatering system help us to take out 25 to 30% of solids. So that's a significant amount of solids that we will not be able to remove if we're not, if the trucks are not making those schedule. So 5% versus 25%. So that's still a significant amount of solids that we're not able to handle. Does that answer your question?
So what do you do when that happens?
Right now, we're with all this extra procedure and the vacuum trucks, we are able to handle what is going through our system.
And Director Williams, to add on to that, we do occasionally get to bring it back to Hyperion. Occasionally when they're having an upset, they let us know they can't take those back because of their own issues. So we have an arrangement with LA County Sand District. It does cost us a little more to haul it there, but we have those facilities to receive that vacuum amount or liquid solids, but it's a little less efficient than being able to have our filter presses working and hauled away.
Yeah, and then just to add that if when we cannot take it out, the solids that's recirculate back to our front end. So it goes through the EQ and then eventually we'll make it back to our pre-treatment. That would add to the loading up front to our filters, and that would risk of missing compliant. So it is very important that our solids facility is working properly and have the proper number of trucks going out.
Thank you.
If I
Okay.
may add, on that note, directors, you may recall a few months back, we came in and talked about a CIP project that looked into the refurbishment of the solids handling facility. We're planning on bringing that, we're doing extra investigation based on the board's direction. We're planning on bringing more information to the board, more alternatives, if you will, and some costs associated with that. And we hope to present that in April. But it is a facility that has a lot of risk, and the questions are precisely hitting that point: is what happens ultimately. There's a backup plan, and then another backup plan, and then sending it to LA, sending it to the county, and then ultimately it could start. And then we push it back into the plant. It could start affecting the actual production of the water. So it is a very significant part of the Edwards Little plant, and we're going to be bringing more information for the E&O committee soon about that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If we could proceed then to the next slide, please, which is on page 28 of the packet. This is just our quick overview of compliance activities. The first quarter of the year is always a real big time of year for compliance activities. A lot of the quarterly reports, working on annual reports, a lot of the supplemental things that are required, which you see here, and no notice of violations for the month of February in addition to that. If we go to the next slide, please, you'll see we have just a nice summary, always good to share. I think, as I proudly mention, that our district is very progressive on permitting, reporting. There's never a reluctance to disclose and engage in all the proper activity. And coming up for the next fiscal year, there will be a lot of activity in the compliance side. Wanted to make sure that the board was aware, and we'll keep bringing these to you because some of these will require public hearings. We will keep the board updated on that. But for example, our 2 brine permits, that's the one at ECL and at JMM and Carson, both of those have permits that allow us to discharge to the ocean. They go through LA County Sands line and then LA City's line, but they also require us to have permits. In addition, to complicate that, at ECL, it goes into Hyperion's 5 Mile line, which hits federal waters, and therefore the EPA is also involved. So you have to go through 2 separate hearings. For the Title 22 general permit, we've had our same Title 22 permit almost since we started here. It was revised in 2001. Those permits don't expire. The brine permits have to be renewed every 5 years. The general permits, like the barrier in Title 22, do not technically expire, but they have to be updated. In 2014 and 15, there was a new general permit that was implemented for the state of California, and all agencies were required within 5 years to comply with that. This was an example I had noted on a previous meeting that the regulators gave us some leniency because we had an existing permit and we were in good compliance to allow us to continue on that permit. But we're now starting in the process, working on the engineering report in-house, notice of intent to apply for this. And again, that will require a hearing. We will keep the board updated, as sometimes that also requires us to bring a statement or something to be ratified by our own board. We're also working on our purveyor. Many of us know we have a very nice purveyor program where we help with drinking water quality monitoring and reports, consumer confidence, CCR reports. We do that for a few cities. Every 5 years, you have what's called the UCMRs. We're now on number 5. There was a UCMR 1, 2, and that's the so the kind of the new contaminant du jour to look for those. These will focus on PFAS a lot this time. We will be engaging with our purveyors on that. those don't necessarily require a hearing. However, they do require EPA approval, and we will keep the board updated on that. Then finally, we'll also be having to engage in some of the new operating permits and revisions for our facilities. Those, as at JMM currently, those can, at the discretion of the district, require public notification. That is where we have to notify everyone within a certain distance of our facility. We will let the board know if we're told to do that, make sure to have advance notice, and we also do work with the PI department so that we can do that properly with the help of the regulators. And with that, unless there's any questions, I'll turn it over to Frank.
Thank you, Uzi. Good afternoon, directors. Next slide, please. So this is our monthly potable water customer service update for the month of February. The only items I want to highlight for the Metropolitan Water District customer projects, there will be a meter replacement scheduled for WB6B, which belongs to California Water Service Company. Metropolitan Water District is working with both West Basin and Cal Water to coordinate this outage. It's between May 16th and May 20th. And for the Title 22 Purveyor Service Program, I just wanted to highlight that the samples were already taken for the month of February. Next slide. And this slide is a summary of our recycled water distribution system activities. I just wanted to mention that we did have one leak in February in the city of Inglewood on Prairie and 105th Street. It was on February 9th. It was a minor leak that was repaired the same day without any issues. Infomark also collected a total of 90 water samples throughout the month. They conducted 2 spot chlorinations also in the city of Inglewood, and collected responded to 572 dig alerts, and our operations technician conducted 18 site inspections. And the photographs on the bottom, the 2 bottom left photographs, are of the repair that was conducted for the air vac service line that was replaced. The 2 middle photographs are of regularly scheduled maintenance activities for air vacuum valves, and the 2 photographs on the right are for valves that is an example of a valve that was exercised in the month of February. Next slide, please. Moving on to new recycled water connections. This is a summary of 6 sites that are currently under construction that we are working with to connect to the recycled water system. I also want to mention that on page 21 of the board package, we do have an attachment that also lists the additional 22, well, overall there are 22 sites that we anticipate are going to connect to the recycled water system. And there was a question brought up this morning at the board workshop in regards to which potential or which sites we had included in or forecasted in the budget to be included in that budget. And so, for example, Los Angeles Southwest College would be a site that was included in that additional demands for the next fiscal year. There are sites within the SoFi development, Torrance Tech Center, the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center. We anticipate that there would be a portion of that site that would be connected in the next fiscal year. So I will be putting together the summary of those sites that were included for the budget and provide those to EJ so that he will be able to provide those to the board. So next slide, please. So as I had mentioned, the Torrance Technology Center, this is 4 new sites that our staff have been working with to connect to the recycled water system. These are photographs of a recent inspection conducted with our staff and the Department of Public Health. And we anticipate that those will be connected in May of this year. Moving on to the next slide, please. And this is one of the sites within the SoFi Stadium development. This is the Hollywood Park Retail. It's an outdoor mall. And also staff have been working with the Department of Public Health to finalize this connection. Again, these are photographs of a recent inspection that was conducted to ensure there are no cross connections. And again, we anticipate that this site would be connected in July of this year. Moving on to the next slide, please. And so this is a table of existing recycled water sites. These are sites that are already connected to the recycled water system, but they are undergoing modifications, and staff is providing support to go through the Department of Public Health approval. So I wanted to highlight several sites from here. You can go to the next slide, please. This is for the Manhattan Village Shopping Center, and this site was already, again, as I mentioned before, is already connected, but they are actually expanding their irrigation system. And so this is on the southern portion of that facility. Again, this is a recent site inspection with the Department of Public Health, and we anticipate that this will be finalized in April of this year. Next slide, please. And the Lakes Golf Course, we've been providing monthly updates on this site. These are photographs of a recent site inspection. Actually, the site is entirely approved now to use recycled water. So we do anticipate that they will start using recycled water in this portion near the parking lot in the next couple of weeks. So they will have recycled water for all of their irrigation system by their target grand opening of next month. So next slide, please. And finally, we've been working with El Segundo Middle School. They're constructing a new gymnasium at this site. And so staff have been working with the Department of Public Health to conduct inspections of these are new potable water pipelines that were recently installed. And again, these are just to ensure that there are no cross connections between potable water and recycled water. And we anticipate that this work will be finalized in August of this year. And next slide. And that concludes our report, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Director Williams, you have any follow-up
thank you.
questions?
No, thank you.
Any of the other directors have any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you very much. So we will move on to the last item on the information calendar, and that's the capital improvement program update.
That is correct, Chairman Alvarez. This does begin on packet page 40 for the capital improvement program update. For this presentation, we do have Wendell Johnson, our manager of engineering, here for the presentation.
If you could please turn to page 42 in your agenda packet. I've got a couple things to share with the board today. We're providing you with our monthly CIP update report. In addition to that, we have provided a sample draft budget, a proposed draft budget project sheet, information that we plan on including in this year's cycle of the budget. As you know, each year, and we've been listening to feedback from this committee as well as individual board members on information that they would like to see in the budget book. And what we have done on page 80 of your agenda packet, we have produced a sample sheet of a typical budget project sheet, which will be either as a part of the CIP in the current budget book, or it will be a standalone a budget book, given the what the board, well, given direction on what the board would like to do. I have my 8 project engineers that are available to provide us any additional information on any specific projects that you would like to be updated on. And so at this time, I could provide you specific project updates, or we can move on to the sample budget sheet that we plan to include in this year's budget cycle.
Director Williams, are there any specific projects you want to get a update on?
Not right now, thank you.
How about any other board members? Are there any specific projects that anyone would like to have an update on? Hearing none. Thank you very much. As I was going to ask, I saw that in the presentation, and that's kind of the first time I've seen that. So the proposed CIP budget information packet, you can go over that with us, would be fantastic.
So if board members could turn to page 80 in your agenda packet. And again, I want to apologize in advance. We tried to put a lot of information on this sheet, and so it may be difficult for you to actually view it. But essentially, this has been a little bit of a evolution in the department. Each year, additional information or a new format is presented to the board to include as a part of our operation budget for the district. And in this case, this is the CIP, or the capital improvement type projects. And what we have here is a typical sheet, and I put the JMM Carson project on there simply because we talked about it earlier, and we can kind of focus on the content that is being provided by this budget sheet or for the budget book. And I'm welcoming any input from the board members on what they would like to see, or what works for them, or what they don't work for them. But I can briefly go over what we hope to include. If we look on the left-hand side, when this is put into the budget book, this is a typical sheet, and it's 2 pages. There's 2 8.5 by 10 pages. And when you open it up, you have the project and project information on the 2 sheets. So they're side by side. And so you can have all the information for one particular project right in front of you. And typically, if you look on the upper left-hand side of the sheet, we have the fiscal year 2023 and the expectation of what monies will be spent in this in that fiscal year. And next to that, we have the 5-year CIP, and this is the 5-year CIP going forward. As you're aware, most of our projects are multi-year projects. We have a planning phase, we have a designing phase, and then we have a construction phase, as well as a closeout or acceptance phase. And quite often it's longer than just one fiscal year in order to do that. Additionally, in the line below that, we're including all prior year expenditures. The amount of monies that have been expended up to this point in this prior year. And this monies that are here includes expenditure on internal labor, West Basin's internal costs, as well as the support that we receive from the contract operators or operations, and the contract operator, in this case it's SUAS, is also included in there. And then as we look across the bar, it includes fiscal year 23, 24, 24, 25, and so forth. So it's a 5-year period involved in that. An essential part of the budget book, or the budget sheet, is a project description. So this gives you a description of the project and what we hope to achieve as a purpose or the benefit to the district on how the district will benefit if we move ahead with the project. And below that, we include information about the drivers. What's driving the project? Is it being driven by obsolete equipment? Is it being driven by a lower capacity in producing water? You know, what is essentially driving the project and why we're doing it? Below that, always important is what strategic goals will be met by this project. We have our 5 district strategic goals, and the green check mark illustrates what strategic goal will be fulfilled by doing this project. Addition to that is something that the board has requested, or the committee has often requested, is budget history. You know, what's the history of this project? You know, what was authorized expenditures in the prior years? What's been authorized in the future year? Okay, and so moving to the right-hand side of this budget sheet, we include information for the general public that discusses the end user. In this particular case, we're talking about JMM Carson Phase 2 expansion, and the end user for this particular water or this particular product that West Basin produces out there that this capital improvement project will support is the Marathon Refinery. And they're using it in 2 different applications at the refinery. They're using cooling tower water as well as boiler feed water. Essentially, the status section below the end user section tells you what the status of the project, what has been completed, what is being done, and what type of future work is anticipated in this fiscal year or for the completion of the project. Below that, which is always important, is the anticipated schedule for the project. It's a high level look at, you know, what will we be doing, what phases will we be in. In this particular case, till the end of fiscal year 2022-23, we will be in the construction phase, and then early in the fiscal year of 23-24, we will be starting to close out the project, and the project will be completed by the second quarter of FY24. Okay. Also included is information about related projects. You know, what other projects are related to this project. And in this particular case, we have the chemical containment project that is related to it. The Title 22 filters are also related to this project, as well as the chemical storage. So this information, if we go to the next page, page 81, okay, this is the financial back end of the project, and this is where we take a look at the cash flow of the project. It's a detailed analysis of the cash flow of the project. Okay, and this information, of course, is very crucial so that we're able to budget, and we're able to budget by quarter, and able to manage our cash flow to have the revenue depending on the type of funding that is associated with the project in order to successfully complete and meet our financial obligation. If we go to page 82 in your agenda packet, again, this is the assumptions that are being made for the project. We have initially a pretty good estimate of the cost of the project, and then we make the assumptions as to what different areas, you know, additional expenses. In this case, we're trying to capture engineering labor costs, operation labor costs, construction management costs. This project, the design has already been done, but there's also other type activities on a typical project that includes other charges for material testing and construction type support of that. And so this provides a detailed look of what the total project expenses will be. And I think that the board has asked for this on several occasions on how much labor we're involved in this. Again, this is an initial draft sheet, okay, and this project would tie in with other projects that we have. We have about 40 projects that will be in this upcoming fiscal year. And so this also provides us a check to see if we have the appropriate level of staffing, the appropriate level of budget for internal costs and internal charges, or have we oversubscribed? And so we're in the process of assembling these individual sheets that give us a detailed analysis of the cost of a typical CIP project to be able to provide this information for the board and support the decisions that the board likes to make on behalf of the public. If there's any questions, I'll be welcome. I'm welcome to take your questions.
Yeah, this is, so be careful what you ask for. How would you present, what would you present in a capital improvement committee meeting report on the project?
Yeah, these are the individual budget sheets, which is the back end of the CIP booklet that we're in the process of creating. And the CIP booklet, it was similar to the budget booklet that we have here for the operating budget, which gives you an overview. It gives you, several tables. It tells you successes we had this fiscal year, projects that we completed, the expenditures in the project versus the budget of the project. And then it gives you a status of the projects that may be in design or in various different steps along the way. And then we provide a overall summary of the individual fiscal year budget costs and the three categories that we generally have here at the district, which is new infrastructure, R&R, and other type work, which is your annual program, annual maintenance, is the replacement of your MF/RO filters. It's your IT expenditures, as well as expenditures on other real estate that is not involved in the actual production of water. And so we provide a 5-year summary of all the project in a table form. And then this document here, what we're viewing here, is the actual project sheets or the back end of the budget book.
We actually show in the E&O monthly report on a project. I wouldn't want to see all of this.
No, it would be the information that we normally see in the dashboard, which is a 1-slide summary of where we are in the project. Typically, what we provided in beginning on page 42 in your agenda packet is generally what we provide as a monthly update. We could provide additional information on a quarterly basis if the director would like to take a deeper dive into some of the projects.
Now, this will always be available if we want to take a deeper dive.
Exactly.
Actual report that we're sitting here reviewing would not be this information.
Right, this is the information we want to share on how these projects are developed to show you how detailed we take a look at the cost in order to keep a project on track, and so that we don't have unanticipated expenditures.
So this is for Director Alvarez, right?
Oh, absolutely. He has an inquiring mind.
Thank you.
I do have some comments, but before, are there any other comments from other board members?
I do not have any comments on this, Director Alvarez, but maybe when you're done with this, I wanted to ask a couple questions on some current projects, but that's okay at the moment.
Okay. I really appreciate all the effort. I understand that this is in the draft form and it's still evolving. But for budgeting purposes, I think it's a very nice document to start and stand on. And really the key information is in the first page. There's the other two, the first page, not phase. The other 2 pages are just more detailed breakdown. So on something like this, where you've got the overall project cost on this, is still kind of a floating item out there, but if I can speak to it and you can tell me, yep, that's right or wrong. So the total expenditures when this project is completed is anticipated to be 27,597,000.
Correct.
Okay. And so when we look at the budget history in the lower left-hand corner or side of the page, you know, there was budgeting that was done in the FY 17-18, 18-19. So for the last 5 years, you show it was budgeting, but those monies bounce all over the place. So if I want to know how much money was actually set aside for the project, can we have a column that dedicates that or identifies that, or is that something that we should try to work on? Because it'd be nice to know, you know, this year's CIP, we have a project that's already been budgeted, and here's where the money is for 27,597,000, but we're going to ask for another $1.2 million, or whatever it might be. I'm just giving you kind of scenarios. It'd be nice to know what's already committed. And then the second question, you kind of have it here, that the source of funds, and in this particular case, it's a combination of the state revolving loan fund and the Prop 1 grant. Is that 100% of it? Or, yep. So this project's 100%, the $27 million is coming out of the state revolving loan fund and Prop 1 grant?
No, and again, this is a draft, and my intention is to actually give you the breakdown of what this, where the funds are coming from, because in addition to the state fund as well as Prop 1, we have some participation from Cal Water in this particular project, and so in our future revision of this, we will have a detailed breakdown of the compositeness of the monies that are there.
Was there also participation by Marathon in this one?
Yes, I believe that there's charges that there's.
That's the sales, but did they participate?
I can chime in on that. Marathon was supposed to fund the TMBR portion of the project, of the phase 2 expansion. And we were close to putting an agreement with them to do that, just that, to fund that TMBR portion. So this phase 2 was the CMF portion, and then there was a TMBR portion for the cooling tower that was going to supply a little over 1,000 acre feet of nitrified water. Marathon was supposed to fund that end of it. During COVID, with the situation that the refiners were going through, they notified us and told us that they can't participate in it at that time. And so we're proceeding with the project, taking advantage of the grants that we have just for the CMF portion of it. And Marathon does not fund that portion.
Okay. Thank you. That's good information. So anyways, as you polish this draft, those are kind of some of the questions that I would have. I'd like to see a little bit more clarification on those issues.
Thank you for your comments.
Great to have the attached pages, but I think that is getting a lot into the weeds. So, but thank you very much. I think that this is very productive, and it would be nice to have this when we go through the budget for all the projects and say, this is how much we're going to allocate in the CIP and where the money's going. Okay, Director Houston, you had asked that we go back and revisit some of the projects that you passed up the first opportunity to do that.
Yes, I did.
We always get a second chance at the apple here. We like to please.
I passed it up. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Just two things. One is the slide deck, I think it was slide 15, the Chevron nitrified product water steel tank. That's page 56 of our packet. There you go. What's the status of this in the sense of how soon? I see it's going to go out to bid. You're going out to bid soon. And then what do you think is the estimated time of completion on that tank?
If I could I ask for Camille or Veronica to provide some information for the director?
Yes, good afternoon, directors. Yes, the project is currently at the 100% design submittal, and essentially we've been talking with Chevron to basically determine the best time for them to also go into a shutdown mode. So they have advised us that there will be shutting down some of their units at the beginning of next year. So we're planning on working around that schedule so we can coordinate accordingly and be able to do the shutdown at the time.
Okay, and how long does it take to get it accomplished?
Yes, so I believe that the bypass system is probably one of the longest items that is going to take us to build. So essentially, it's going to be an approximation of 8 months to do the whole construction. But again, the Chevron is going to be on a bypass system, so they're going to be able to have some flows.
Okay, got it. Okay. Great, thank you, Veronica. And then my other question was earlier in the presentation, and it was slide 6, the Harbor South Bay Water Recycling Program, which, you know, we always talk about, we always hear about it, but I noticed at the bottom it says remaining, we need to finalize the agreement. And then a couple of the projects that come along in the slideshow right after that said same story, need to finalize and execute the agreement. So can you just tell us what the status is on that? I understand we have authorization of this money, but what's the deal with the finalizing the agreement?
Yes, we've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers representative, and essentially we have provided comments into the agreement. I believe that there are some agreements that are changing in regards to their own templates, so they are accommodating for those. They do have a project description, so essentially all the work is already done from our part. We're just waiting to get that final draft of the agreement for our final review and be able to execute or present it to the board and execute.
Okay, so it'll be, you think, in a couple of months or something like that?
Yes, that's our hope. Yes.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Okay, if not, that concludes the information calendar. I don't believe we have any closed session items.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, director's comments for future agenda items. Director Williams?
No, thank you.
I will be submitting a couple of items for next month's agenda, agenda. And how about any other board members?
No, thank you.
Okay, hearing none, we are adjourned. And
Record time.
I was going to say, let it be known that we are adjourned at 5:20. This is very good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee and board, and of course, staff. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.